Hello, everybody. Hello, Heather. Everyone, welcome. Welcome. This is our Brain Balance Live with Heather Wells, and we are so excited to be here. I actually am personally excited to be here because it's my first time ever. So thank you for having me on the show, Heather.
Thank you for being here, Jen. Jen is, I'm going to change this. Corey Warren is Jen's husband. You are not his wife. He is your husband.
He is my husband.
His identifier will put you there.
I love that. Well, they say happy wife, happy life. So
that's right. Hi, Sherry Ann. Good to see you. I hope you had a good holiday. You're going to love Jen, Sherry.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Hi, Sherry. It's nice to meet you. I love it. Well, since I am new to the show, but I will be kind of just taking the reins for a little bit. I said, Corey, you are having too much fun talking to Heather every week, and you are learning too much and getting too smart. And so I need to get smart and learn some things about my child. I'm a fellow brain balance parent as well, as Corey has mentioned on the show. And I'm so excited to get to talk to Heather because she is a therapist. She is a board certified cognitive specialist, and she is also a National Autism Summit speaker. And with that comes a whole lot of knowledge and really just tips and things that are going to help us get through our daily life, which can sometimes be a struggle. So thank you so much for doing this, Heather.
Oh, thank you. I think this topic today is going to be really relatable. And I'm excited to have parents hearing you talk parent to parent because you're a mom of 3 kids and life is crazy. So it'll be really fun to collaborate on this. And today's topic, I mean, I'm sure everyone listening right now, everything in your house, your life is totally organized, right?
Yeah, really just perfectly organized.
Yes, everything's in its place. Homework is always turned in on time. We always know it's happening. It's fantastic, right?
Yes.
So if that's the case for you, please give us tips today. But this is for the disorganized student or adult or household in general. If one person in the house is struggling with this, it really can impact the entire family unit. And so, but one thing I really want to start with is on this first slide here, you're going to see that organization is a whole lot more than just having everything tidy and in its place. Do you mind putting that in present mode? So it's a little bigger. If you can, Bess, I'm sorry.
We've got an awesome producer behind the scenes. Her name is Bess, and she is here for our every technological need. Awesome. Oh, that looks great.
She's amazing.
Yes.
So think about the fact that organization involves mapping our thoughts. If you see a messy backpack, if you see a messy bedroom, or wherever you're seeing that, there's probably some disarray going on in your mind. Because if I can organize my mind, I understand how to organize my life. So it involves recall. We're going to talk more about this. Planning, sequencing. I don't even know where to start this assignment. Focus comes in here. There's a lot of different types of focus we'll talk about. I have to be self-regulated to do it. I have to inhibit, squirrel, and getting over here when I'm supposed to be organizing stuff. But just knowing how to get things done. Executive functions is getting stuff done. Life skills.
Yes. I joke that I was good at school. And so it didn't take a ton of work for me to do well in school. But now as an adult, I actually struggle with my executive functioning skills because I never had to learn how to properly go through step by step to organize my thoughts. Yeah. I actually struggle with this as an adult, even though I didn't have those struggles as a kid.
Yeah, I mean, think about all of the responsibilities because you got your mom hat or dad hat on, your spouse hat, your career, there are so many different, that's on the right here. You see these folders. Those are how I organize. Okay, this is the stuff I need to do for Roger. This is the stuff I need to do for this job I'm doing. This is my holiday folder in my head. So then when I need to, okay, this is the time I've set aside to do this, I know exactly where in my head to go to get that. And it already makes sense to me. So when I can create mental schemas, it's categories in the head. It is a file cabinet in my head. That is deep learning. That is organization. And if I don't have that, I have all these discrete, you see the birthday cake and we got to take care of the pets and we got these errands to run. They're all over the place. They don't go in a folder. It doesn't make sense.
That is what my head looks like.
So think about putting in, this is going to be my Thursday errand folder. And all of a sudden I map it out and it takes a third of the time that it would have taken otherwise. But also in school, hey, I get how what I'm learning right now relates to this vacation we went on, and it's building on what I learned last year. I put all these things together, and it's not individual puzzle pieces. It multiplies understanding, organization, and knowledge. So
I love that.
So on the next slide, pay attention to that head. Now look at this house. It is really the same thing. One is thoughts, one is stuff, right?
Yes.
So one of the things we got to do, we got to help our kids purge what doesn't belong up in there. Negative self-talk, that little mantra, the mantras we have going on, just like we have to get rid of clutter out of our house. We don't organize what doesn't belong there. So that's one thing to keep in mind. And that applies for emotions or stuff, like physical stuff. So mess causes stress.
Mess causes stress. Oh my gosh. I love it. Hashtag it.
Yeah, that is a good hashtag. And I also love this. Clutter is delayed decision making. I
feel like I'm on blast, but it's okay. This is me to a T.
I have a camera in Jen's life, and this is all just outing her today.
Yes. Actually, she had no idea that this is who I am, and now she does.
No, I'm totally kidding. I'm going to tell y'all something. I am a fairly organized person. I'm not going to win an award, and I'm okay with that. But I'm going to tell you, really for anyone, some people are naturally more organized than others, but in general, this is not something you're born with. This is a skill, not a talent, which means it can be learned. And I love it. I had to learn it. I didn't, when I was in grad school and I'm doing rotations and I'm paying my way through school, and it's like, I'm working 2 full-time jobs, I'm writing a thesis, I'm in grad school. I had to start learning organization, teaching myself. It did not come naturally. And I've been doing it for so long now that people think I was just born with a planner in my brain, and I wasn't, Yeah. So it did not come easily for me. But think about this, only handle it once. Then I'm not delaying the decisions. Ohio. When mail comes in, sort it over the recycling bin, your kids see that. Then when you're doing your 2-minute clean out of the backpack each day, that's what mom does with the mail too. That's what dad does when he's handling the mail. Be a good role model, because monkey see, monkey do, right?
It's so true.
And I love this IDLE, IDLE. It stands for identify a category. So let's say magazines. Oh, I got all these cool magazines, and I'm going to be all Martha Stewart up in here and make my house look so pretty. Oh yeah, and I want to get in shape, so let me get that fitness magazine. And this is just an example, but think about, I'm going to declutter magazines. That is your category. Now I don't have to painstakingly go through each individual item in my house and make 100 decisions. Magazines. You know what? Anything that's over a year old, that's recycled. Whatever rules you set up, it applies to a category of information. A lot of our kids who don't get big picture details, they wouldn't know that the category is magazine. So this is how being able to organize things in my mind comes into play. You can do that. Go through. We're going to look at toys. Which ones have we outgrown? Give, donate. We're still on this other one. I'm sorry. And then the other thing, so identify the category, make a decision. All magazines are going. I never read them. Or I only keep them for a month. I only keep them until I read them. Have rules. Once you set up rules, it becomes duplicatable. Do the same thing help your kids do the same thing with their stuff. And then it is locate or let go. In other words, there is a place for everything. It has to fit in the space we have, or I let it go. One in, one out. You can have all of these different little mantras that become house rules for you. And then it's important to re-examine your rules that you come up with over time. I mean, think about when we used to have, some of y'all watching this may not know this, we used to have phone books. These really thick, and the yellow pages. Guess what? that wasn't a category you needed before, but that would be something that you could easily get rid of. Technology updates, but it still works. Possibility thinking. I might need it someday. You don't love it. If in doubt, throw it out.
Yeah.
I love all these rhymes.
Yes.
But when you have an organized space, this also helps kids with sensory issues who get overwhelmed with visual information. It's visual fray creates fray up here.
Okay.
So it's really important. But put it in your schedule. We want to be more of a schedule builder, not a to-do list maker.
Okay.
And that sounds crazy. It doesn't mean to-do lists are wrong or horrible, but how about when I'm already having trouble getting on this organization track and I have this to-do list and I never get it done? And guess what happens with to-do lists? More stuff gets added to it.
Always.
You're getting further behind. Put your to-do list. It's not called a to-do list, but Thursday between 1 and 2:30, I am going to go through all the mail, and that's going to be my time every week. And it is on your calendar like an appointment that you keep with yourself. Yep. You're getting your to-do list done, but you're building a schedule, and then you don't see it haunting you when you check it off. And the other thing that happens with to-do lists is we tend to pick the ones like, oh, that's easy. Yeah. And then you never get to the one that actually matters the most.
Yes. Yes. You're so right. I remember one time a couple years ago, we were having breakfast and we invited some friends and they said, well, actually right now is clean the kitchen time on our calendar. So we're going to have to catch you next time.
That's great.
That so funny, but she is one of my most organized friends and she's doing exactly what you said. No, sorry. On the calendar, we have an appointment where this is when we do this.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
I mean, it does sound funny when you're not even doing that, but when you understand I am building it into my schedule, I keep it like an appointment. It works.
Yep.
And then do a quick 3-5 minute dash every night with the family after dinner, before bedtime, when everybody's too tired, like, oh, I'll do it tomorrow. You start building muscle memory and task initiation muscle by you get things in order doing this purge, and then everybody knows where stuff goes. Kids know where things go. Sometimes they don't put things away because they don't know where it goes or it's hard for them to get to, or they have motor issues. Maybe they have motor issues folding their clothes. Maybe they leave their clothes out because they can't really perceive the fact that I've got layers of clothes here. You could even stack the clothes vertically in the drawers instead of flat. If they were in the same stuff over and over, or they're leaving their clothes out, sometimes it's because this is how I know what I have.
Totally. I actually love building the drawers that way. And I started doing that myself so I could see all of my shirts when they were in drawers, just folding them and doing them like a file bin. Yes. And it's been so great. You're right. You get to the more of the things that you have.
Yeah. So categorize, label drawers. Things need labels, color code for your kids, that kind of stuff. But this is all about getting the environmental space organized. And now we're going to start moving into what's happening with our kids who are having various organization issues on the next slide. So one of the most important things to understand is that kids can be organized in some ways and not in others. And that is because there are many, many root causes of disorganization. So it doesn't mean that one child's head it's all scrambled on everything when it comes to organization and this one is orderly. No. So think about patterns. Does it have to do with transitions? And we talk about transitions usually when we're talking about anxiety and meltdowns, but in this context today, transitions would be one class to the next. That's a transition from class to class. And he can't organize his thoughts and time management practices like I do or don't have time to stop by my locker. So I need to grab the next 2 classes worth of materials at this last stop. Being able to map out a day like that.
Yes.
So think about transitions. That's what they don't get when they should pull out their planner during the day.
Yes. Yes. It's sometimes they're hard for them too to figure out how to solve a problem. So much of this is in problem solving, right?
It is. And so much of this is some kids, especially some of our gifted kids, everyone's gifted in some ways, but I mean your twice exceptional kids who have maybe learning challenges as well as way above average in other things. And a lot of times possibility thinking, which is amazing. We talk about creativity and kids' imagination, but sometimes they can think of 10 things to do with this straw that they might do someday. That gets in the way. Or they start working on a project and then they aren't so great. Here's something even better. This is even better. So we have to teach moderation on that. Sometimes decision making is what if thinking, and that is great in a lot of ways, but not when it comes to clutter or project management and that kind of thing. There's a certain limit on that, or else you're kind of in quicksand.
Yep.
Is it memory? At a lot of times you're like, okay, go fold your clothes, bring down your dirty clothes, and set the table for dinner. Did they follow it? And then you go by their room and you're like, are you serious right now? You're sitting there playing with your toy. Mm-hmm. It would look like defiance, but keep them, they may not remember. If you gave them directions in different rooms, do they have issues with spatial concepts? I have to go to the garage to do this, to my bedroom to do this, and the kitchen to do this. So not only do I have to remember multiple steps, I also have to understand different locations and be able to take that information with me.
Yes.
Or got distracted along the way. It's a really good idea to have kids clean in one area, because there is probably going to be a really cool distraction along the way. Doesn't mean they're being defiant. Did they remember? Yeah. Did they lose focus? They got distracted. Does it involve time concepts? First do this, next do this, then do this. That is a precursor to time management skills. I don't know how to sequence things, that kind of thing.
Right.
Does it involve anxiety? Is it only how well did they sleep? What are they eating? Because that very directly impacts focus and organization. So is it messiness? Is it I'm always looking for stuff? Because that has very much to do with visual, spatial kinds of skills. Is it memory? There is a difference between not completing multi-step directions and not completing them in order. So when they don't follow instructions, what type of instruction is it? Start logging this stuff. Find the patterns, because that's how you know what the solutions are. I could go on and on. This is just some examples.
I love it though. No, this is so good. And I feel like each one of my kids is completely different in the ways that they struggle with these things. You know, and you're so right. You can send them off to their room and they're on their way. And I'm saying it all the way. It's this, it's this, it's this. Repeat it. It's this, it's this, it's this. Say it again. You know, like if they say it out loud, they're going to remember. And then you're so right though, changing space, you know, maybe give it all in the room and say, okay, well, let's just focus on this bedroom, and that pares it down, and you can see if that helps.
Yeah, exactly. That's a great strategy. Another thing is, if some kids, if they really struggle with memory, you literally can, to start with, give them one thing at a time. You know, that's right. And then do this one. Then when you're ready, come back and I'll tell you the next thing.
Yes.
But that's not helping them grow, but it helps them be successful in the meantime, which is important for growth.
Yes.
But another thing, as they're growing, you can say, okay, I have 3 things for you to do. And even giving them, there's my hand, giving them the visual. I'm not showing y'all what 3 is. I'm saying your words match with the visual that I'm giving you is really, can be huge. And so I've already made sure that you're with me on this. And it's like settling time for us to get in the zone. And I know I have your attention. You need to wait for a minute, talk slow. Don't raise your voice when they're talking, because that's not going to make them listen more.
Yeah.
Calm voice. In fact, sometimes if I start talking more softly, it makes you lean in and listen more.
It sure does.
So
it worked.
Lower. You're like, what is she saying? Lower your voice to get better attention if it's an attention issue. But make sure you have their attention first. Okay, but I got 3 things for you to do. But that's a time when you can have lists on a wall. And I got some examples in a little bit. Look for patterns. And very few kids have issues with every single thing that involves organization. There's some strength in there. And so on the next slide, thinking about having conversations with them. One of the most important, a lot of these kids are hearing you're lazy, you're apathetic, you're sloppy, you're messy. It's not true. Most of the time, 99% of the time when this is happening, it is not a choice, even though it looks like it is. So one of the best things we can say to our kids to start this off, we know you want to be more organized. Of course, you're going to adjust this for age, and it's a real struggle. We're going to find ways to help. We're going to get to the root of the issue. Depending on their age, their developmental level, do you have any ideas about what things are getting in the way? Ask them. You're growing their self-awareness. Tell me more about that project and how it made you feel, or tell me more about where the struggles were. That's metacognitive question. You are making them reflect. They're thinking about their thinking. They're thinking about their processing, and that grows enormous self-awareness and gets you very mindful and able to take action. If they have things they want to talk about, kid-led questions, kid-led conversations, collaborative solutions. Yes, little ones might not, developmentally may have difficulty with this, but match it to your children and always talk about their strengths. We don't ignore struggles. We don't make them the equivalent of only their strengths. We want to praise their effort, not, well, swing and a miss, buddy.
I think sometimes too, as like a parent, you get a lot of what we're doing. Well, we know this from our therapy, right? Therapy sessions, but like most of what comes out of us has to do with us, not them. So we're tired, we're exhausted, we feel like we're doing everything. So I'm sure that anytime we say something negative to the kid, it really has more to do with ourselves than it does them.
Yeah, and if we get our kids to start being more independent, it's also going to help. It helps the relationship between the spouses and with the kids. It's like when anyone's struggling with whatever it is, it just there are rollout effects of that. So and one of the great in the morning, if you're like we're still having trouble with routines, you're putting up visual schedules of what it means to get ready in the morning, what it means to be ready to go out the door for school, what it means to go to bed. And when they get ready for school or bed or whatever it is, and before the allotted time and there's extra time, one of the best ways to get them to stick with that system is to play a quick game with them. Do something they love, one-on-one connective time. And that is like an intrinsic reward for the fact that they got ready in time. That's some verbal praise for, wow, way to be on the ball. But also that time, there's nothing that can replace that. So
do you tell them that in advance, like before you're starting to get into that? Do you say, okay, we can get ready for bed before time, then you'll get to do this thing with me, and like tell them in advance?
Yeah. But even if you don't, then because we talk all the time about carrot and stick and there's too much reward punishment kind of stuff. But when we're talking about quality time, that is not a physical, like, shiny thing we're dangling. And sometimes surprise them with it. You saw them do something really well. Like that is going to be an intrinsic motivation to keep doing more of that thing.
Love it.
Yeah. And so make sure they know what organization means, by the way. Your definition might be expanding today because it's a whole lot more than like we talked about. And why it matters. Kids, why does it matter for them to use their planner? I know that you want more time with your friends, and the more you have it together here and you're staying on top of your assignments, the more time you get to go hang out with your friends. What's in it for them? Why is this relevant to me? Speak teen, speak kid talk, meet them where they are on that.
I love it.
So, okay. And then I've mentioned memory on this next slide a little bit, but I really want to make sure that working memory is one of the most overlooked challenges that can get misdiagnosed as an attention issue, or you can have both. Kids with ADHD are very prone to have decreased working memory. Has nothing to do with intelligence. This is like a mental Post-it note. Lots of them up here. When I am reading a story, I have to remember what sounds go with what letters. I have to remember to use my grammar. I have to remember to use the correct vocabulary. What does that vocabulary mean again? I have to remember how to hold my pencil, where to put my name. Writing a story, forget about it, or a research paper. I have to pull in background knowledge, my times tables, whatever it is, while I'm listening to the teacher talk, and remember what I have to do in the present moment. So it is like the orchestra conductor of information from yesterday and from stuff I'm going to file for the future and what I have to do right now to solve this problem. Yeah. It is a finite capacity. It's not an external drive on your hard drive on your computer that just seems to never fill up.
Add more.
It does fill up.
Yeah.
And if we have kids with dyslexia, dysgraphia, ADHD, anxiety, their scratch pad gets taken up with the thing they're anxious about. I'm having trouble reading, writing, focusing. I already am carrying too many boxes and some fall off the shelf. That is, I don't have room in my working memory. This leads to a huge cognitive overload and emotional overload. And that is another reason we've talked about predictability as far as routines and how that is really good for calming and self-regulating kids. But also understand that when I know what to expect, I don't have to write that down in my mental scratch pad.
Yeah.
That is off the list. And it frees me up to hear 2 directions you said instead of 1, that kind of thing. So that's why routines matter so much. And if kids have sensory issues, that visual stuff I misperceived, that is going to impact how my memory uses it to solve this problem. And then it seems like I don't understand math, but really it was my visual perception. Just think about all of these combination things. Okay.
Yeah. You know what's so funny too? We can't seem to have just a day where we just do whatever either. That's really hard because once we get good at routine, then if we try to have a day of relaxation, sometimes it's harder than say like the school day where we're like doing everything in the routine. We're like, we just want to chill today. And it ends up really stressing him out, you know?
Yes. Yeah. That is, if you know that you're, and this is great for the holiday talk as well, is if you know that you're going to have a day that looks quite a bit different than other days, prep in advance, have a little family meeting and talk about, or you have your Saturday schedule if it's something you're trying to do once a week.
Yeah.
And if you have it on a family calendar where and you can kind of review it the night before so that they feel that they've, or a social story. From Monday through Friday, we do schoolwork. On Saturdays, that's our time as a family too. But rehearse it in advance and also get their ideas on things they would like to do at that downtime where everyone has a voice on that.
Love it.
Yeah, that was a great. Okay, real quick, we're moving on here. Visual keys, one of the best things to do, like, holy cow, child, please put your shoes on before you get on the bus. Do I really have to say that anymore? Or clean your room. If you just say go clean your room, a lot of kids, because they don't have mental schemas, those filing cabinets in their head, I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
And it seems so obvious to us. So you have to be precise. So when a room is clean, take a picture of it. This is your clean bedroom. Match the picture. This is an organized backpack. Match the picture. This is what you look like when you're ready to walk out the door for school. Match the picture. And the first few times you may have to, have them compare, contrast. What are we missing? Or if you're in a hurry, okay, that's really good. You just got to add on your belt, You might have to do that. But as time goes on, it's not just helping with that specific task. Research shows that when kids learn to match pictures, this is the big picture, literally and figuratively, they start understanding, putting on my scarf, putting on my belt, grabbing my backpack. These are the details that go into that file folder of being ready for school. And it translates into them growing mental schemas and other things. So match the picture.
Match the picture. Love
it. That's it. Match the picture and you are done. And have these, like I said, these routines up for any part of the day that kids are struggling with.
I love that.
It gives them sequencing.
Get it laminated. Keep it by the door.
That's right.
Yes.
Clocks everywhere. We're moving on. And time concepts. I just want to keep in mind that yes, it's about running late. It is about following directions that involve temporal words. Do this after this, that kind of thing. Sequencing. If I cannot sequence a story, I don't know how to sequence making a sandwich. I can't prioritize tasks because I don't even get what comes first, second, third. Sequencing is a basic skill that we learn younger. So have kids retell you stories, cook, garden, anything that involves sequencing steps. You can even get sequencing cards to practice. Simon Says, or Santa Says this month.
Santa says.
With temporal words, and then have them give you directions. So first do this, then do this, last do this. Use all kinds of concepts involving space. If they struggle with spatial concepts, if they have trouble going to different rooms or knowing what on, under, beside, underneath means, also have them do things involving those kinds of words and give you directions. When kids also give you directions in a game, hop on your left foot and then run and say this, then it's really super fun and it's not yet another thing you're telling them to do. Make it fun. We talked about transitions. That is still part of the time concept. A lot of kids think about this. A lot of kids have trouble. I have got in history class this little thing to do that is worth 5 points. And in science class, I have this thing to do that's worth 90 points. And then they might spend equal time on each project. Help them understand prioritizing and how you schedule time differently according to the weight of how much it matters in this class.
Yep.
Have them estimate, how long do you think this research paper is going to take to get it done? Then actually time how long it takes to get it done, or a math worksheet, whatever. Time it, compare it to their estimate, and help them learn how to adjust and predict time better.
How to budget their own time, really.
Yes.
Like, that's hard sometimes.
It's very hard. Another advantage of estimating time, I read a thing where a lady was like, I used to always I just dreaded emptying the dishwasher because it's like, it takes like 20 minutes. So she timed herself one time. It took 4 minutes. And guess what? All of a sudden she started doing it right away. She's like, I'm whining over 4-minute project. Really? So sometimes it's even the opposite. Hey, it's not that big a deal. And so I don't procrastinate on it anymore.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's perfect. She's fast too if she does it in 4.
I know. I was like, you go, girl. One of the most important things for kids in school is to help them chunk projects. We've talked in other shows before about how a lot of kids, if they have a big project, every single part of it is the Roman numeral in an outline. They don't understand the ABCs and 1, 2, 3s. These are the details that help me get number 1 done. I have a book report done. Some kids will just think, okay, I've got to write it and turn it in. They may miss, I need to check out the book. I need to allow time to read it. They may not know what the steps are, what order they come in, and what are the subcomponents. Oh, go to the library, look up this topic, da-da-da. Write a thesis statement, have supporting details, write a conclusion. They don't get that, so help them with that. And don't just look at the due date at school. Help them establish due dates at home for the different components of that project so that they don't rush at the last minute.
Oh, that's really smart.
That is and put those in the planner as if they're school due dates. Maybe have it highlighted in a different color or something. But there are vibrating watches that give reminders. Google Keep, Evernote, Remember the Milk. See what works for your kids. But an analog clock gives a better concept of time, the passage of time, and them starting to understand what 5 minutes means, what 15 minutes means, than a digital clock. So I like this one, how this is the schedule, but it's on the clock so they can see that when the hands are here, this is when we eat breakfast. Now it's time to just think about that, because they really start making more concrete the concept of passage of time.
Yep. I love that, because it does sometimes feel like a struggle to get especially larger tasks done. And sometimes I'll put off doing that, breaking it down in chunks, because it feels like stress every time, and he only wants to do it one time. And so but then you wait until the last minute, and then it's just.
Yeah. If we can reframe, like, what are some of the fun parts? Like, one of the things about if you have a science project or a science fair, getting together your supplies and the markers and the poster board, some kids like that part of it. That is getting started. Figuring out what all of kind of coming up with the outline. Kids really sometimes work well with graphic organizers. Here's an idea and now I'm going to brainstorm from it. That is progress. And when we recognize those little things as progress is not just when it's done. When we celebrate, man, you got all your markers together, you decided your topic. They start understanding the components of projects, and you're getting mojo going, because every day they did those things was a success, and then they want to keep going.
I love that. I'm going to use that too. You're getting your mojo going. Yes.
All right. So we're finished. We got just a couple more things we're going to look at here on the next. Keep it simple. Most of the time when these kids who are struggling, and really a lot of us, if a process you're trying to help me put together is more than 2 steps, sorry, and it's not happening for these kids, right?
Yeah.
So just think about, how can we set up an environment for success? A lot of kids have difficulty with their lockers, turning it, motor skills. They lose track of the count because of memory, of focus, or they don't know right from left, body awareness. Have this little cheat sheet, have the locker combination written there. Practice it at home before the school year begins. Know that a lot of kids, when they're anxious and have visual spatial awareness problems, might even have trouble finding their locker, even when it's not the beginning of the school year. Help them establish landmarks around to help them find it, when to go visit it. Sometimes kids work much better with an all-in-one binder than they do with separate subjects. That's even more to keep up with. Instead of a homework folder, do you need one for each subject? Play around. Sometimes if I don't see it, it doesn't exist. So clear dividers, clear folders work better for a lot of kids than color coding everything. Color coding works great for a lot. So there is some trial and error. This is an example of a luggage tag that is two-sided that you can put on a backpack. Here are the questions I ask myself before I go to school. Here are the things I ask myself before I come home, so you don't end up with kids who didn't bring home the right things. Will your school make an accommodation where you can have another set of textbooks at home? Can you have two sets of supplies so they're not lugging things back and forth, that kind of thing?
And it looks like, too, with this, practice makes perfect. So any bit of practicing you can do, right? Like,
oh, yes.
It's helpful.
Yes. And on any of these things we're talking about today, in general, it is better to start with one idea, get them grooving on this and see how it's working. Try it for at least 2 weeks before determining that this is not the way we need to try one of these other strategies.
Okay.
We don't want to bombard. Give any one of these at least a 2-week run before deciding to move on to another one, because it takes at least that long to start seeing progress.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess we have to be patient when we're building routines as much as we don't want to be patient.
Yes. It takes time, but they do work. And sometimes when you're starting a routine and you're not used to doing that is unfamiliar. So it can increase anxiety in the short term. Keep that in mind.
Okay.
But routines decrease anxiety because I know what to expect. But if I've never had them before, it might increase anxiety. Stick with it.
Yeah. Yeah. I always think about like new computer systems. When you're learning something new on the computer, it's very frustrating and it's a higher level. So it's hard for you and it's change, but I feel like the same thing happens within us, right?
Yes, absolutely. And get their input, have these family meetings. And what do you like about this? What don't you about our organization system? Have a suggestion box, a suggestion jar, whatever it is.
Suggestion box. I can't even imagine what I'm going to get.
It's so fun, and everybody knows they have a voice, and then brag on them for their, the great idea.
Love it.
Yeah. Okay, we're almost done here. But I had to give a couple of things about study strategies, since that has a whole lot to do with organization. We've taken care of the messes. We've given a lot of ideas on that. But the chunking is breaking things down. If kids have difficulty remembering things, every good boy deserves fun. That's a mnemonic device for learning the treble clef in music.
Yeah.
Teach them the things like that. Sometimes kids don't even know to think about, I wrote my story in this color. Now I'm going to edit it. I'm going to do a different color. So I start categorizing what part of the process I'm in. Some kids don't know. Look for summaries at the end of chapters. Look for the bold words, because that's a key that this might be on the exam. They don't understand how to predict what's going to be on tests. Some kids, even more so older kids, surprisingly, probably for some people, learn better by doing motions associated with what they're learning. The reason for this is by then the motor system is starting to become more sophisticated and more automated, and it doesn't take up mental energy when I'm still kind of awkward as a little one and learning. But self-talk, there's a lot of research that if I talk to myself out loud through this project, it increases performance. So don't get on to kids if they are kind of, okay, first I need to add 12 plus 18, and then it's an effective strategy.
Okay.
Idea organizers, graphic organizers. This hamburger paragraph is an example of putting a visual to, here's the process of writing a story. Note taking, have them do 2 columns. In the left column, it's more narrow. Here's the main idea. Here are questions I have. Right column, these are the details. That starts growing mental schemas. When it's time for test, I will only look at the left column and all these main ideas. Did I get my questions answered? Main idea, can I remember the details without looking at the right side of my page? All of these are strategies. Do I need to do a concept web where I write a word in the middle and then all the ideas that go with it? Play around. If you need resources on this, let me know. Activate background knowledge. This is one of the super backed by research. If I am in any time I'm learning something, when I can pull in how it applies to my life or what my friend told me or something I read about, I saw in the news, it makes it mean more. We are connecting dots. It's not discrete pieces of knowledge. It's an organized brain. A couple ways to do that. KWL. Things like let's say before I read a book, what are things I already know about this topic? uh, what do I want to learn? And at the end, what I did learn from this. You were connecting background knowledge, stuff from last year in school to the current thing, and suddenly multiplied. The Freyer model, here's a couple of examples. I have a vocabulary concept that's new to me. I write the definition in my own words, talked about comprehension. I'm not just copying out of dictionary.
Yeah.
I'm reading it and putting it in my words. I draw a picture of it. I'm getting the visual to go with it and a little creative outlet. I give examples of that. Guess what? The vocabulary concept is the big picture in this instance. Examples are details. That's now I've got a category. This has made me realize it's given me new thinking, other information that applies to XYZ. This is a great way for kids to see how things go together, and that leads to organization and better study skills.
That's awesome. Yeah, this is actually helping me a lot too, because I start to realize like the things that I use in my own work, sometimes I actually could translate into what they're doing in school. And I don't think about that, because as an actor, I record lines and I listen to them, and I'll record half of the thing on a recorder, and then I'll say my lines with the recorder, or it's all very similar. We probably all do very similar things in our own jobs that we don't realize we could just translate easily.
Yeah. And when kids see, sometimes if you intentionally talk out loud about the thing you're doing and the strategy you're using, it helps them brainstorm other things. Or I wonder what you could do like that for this,
Yeah.
But even when you are kind of the sometimes it can feel a little silly at first, where you become the commentator on your own life. Like I snapped at mommy, and so house rule says we do this. So now I told her how sorry I was, and I gave her a big hug. So if kids aren't noticing some of the things you're doing, whether it's a study skill or a house rule, social emotional behavior, point it out on purpose so that they start seeing we all do these things, and this is how it works. You're not picking on me.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Actually, I think I'm going to start using that with Corey. I think he and I are going to start saying, I snapped at daddy, and so and so now mommy is saying she's sorry.
That's hilarious. No, I think y'all are such a good tag team. Like, it's amazing. And the in a family, some people are going to be at their wits' end sometimes, and having that open communication, and this is where I'm at right now. We've got to listen to our kids. We also have to listen to our significant others. It has to be an all around. That's why family meetings and house rules are so important.
Communicating is hard. And thank you for your kind words, by the way. That was very sweet. But communicating is hard. Learning how to say things out loud is hard, even as adults. Maybe more so as adults now. But that's such a brilliant thing to talk about, is just open communication.
Yeah, it is important for kids to know that we are not Pollyanna. Everything is 100%
We are not perfect.
No, be real. On an appropriate level, like if you're frustrated and it's something that kids don't really need to know about, don't tell them. But if it's something that is appropriate for children on their level, man, I'm really frustrated right now. If whatever happened, I ripped my dress, but it's, then I thought about it, but it's okay. They need to see so that they don't feel ashamed when they're feeling frustrated or overwhelmed, that kind of thing.
Yep. I love that. Oh my gosh.
I believe that was the last thing. Yep. So.
Oh my gosh. And we've got all the slides here. If you're seeing this on the replay and you have any questions for Heather, just, pop them in the comments and give us ideas for what else we can talk about. I'm just so glad to be here, Heather. Thank you. Is there anything else that you wanted to close with for everybody?
I just wanted to thank you one more time, because this is going to be so awesome. Oh, thank you, Sherry.
Thank you, Sherry. How wonderful.
Amazing. And one other thing I will tell you, if you're looking for help, we have some holiday special things going on, but we are here to help in your living room. We've got virtual programs, hybrid, in person, that you could check out. Brain Balance of Mansfield, Brain Balance of Southlake, Brain Balance of Katy. And this month, Brain Balance of the Woodlands is opening, and you can also follow me on the Hidden Churn. So
I love that. Oh my gosh, you just gave us all the places that we can find you. And Heather is just such a great wealth of knowledge. So, and she's very involved in just knowing what everybody's up to and what everybody's needs are. So make sure you comment and you check us out. Thank you so much. And we'll see you next week. I can't wait to make my brain smarter then.
Yeah, I'll see y'all then. And I will be with Dr. Brian Aspey Thursday at 3:30 as usual. Y'all have a great day.
Amazing. Bye.